Have you ever noticed that sometimes people clap for promotions, they clap for championships, people clap for the $1 million company that arrived, they clap when the book becomes a bestseller, people clap when the keynote receives this standing ovation, but they rarely clap for the thousands of unseen decisions that made all of those amazing milestone moments possible. You ever seen this? Nobody applauds the leader who stayed late after work to coach a struggling employee. Nobody applauds the difficult conversation that saved somebody's career trajectory. Nobody applauds that executive who quietly is absorbing criticism so that their team doesn't have to. Nobody applauds that dad who gets up every single morning, goes to work so his family never has to wonder if they're going to be okay. Nobody ever applauds that mom who's getting up early, staying late at work, and coming home, and bringing the dinner, and doing the things. Like, sometimes these things don't get applauded. We also have some of those people that are fighting for their dreams, and they never get the applause. You know, leadership is full of moments where nobody is watching. And today, I want to talk about what to do when nobody is clapping.
This is the Champion Forum podcast with Jeff Hancher, the forum for leaders, champions, and dreamers.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Champion Forum podcast. You're going to notice, if you are a weekly listener, you're going to notice maybe a little bit of a difference in the show as of late. Not a lot of teaching going on, not a lot of leadership strategy going on. It's one of, maybe I would call it healthy leadership mindset versus this tactical leadership execution approach. And I will tell you the reason for this. I've had a lot of heartfelt conversations lately. I have them often, but as of late, I keep hearing from leaders like yourself who are carrying some big leadership weights. And when I see it, it compels me. When I hear it, it compels me. So I want to start this episode by asking you a question. Who are you? Maybe a better way to ask it is, who are you becoming when nobody notices all that you're doing? Because that's really what leadership is. Leadership has never been built from the stage. It's built in the ordinary. It's built in consistency over years. It's built in the decisions that nobody else is ever even going to know that you made. And if we're being real honest, those are probably the moments that test us the most. Isn't it true? And you're listening to a guy speaking right now that knows exactly what that feels like. You know, there are people that see me today, they see me speaking around, they see the social media, they see the book, they see the podcast, you know, they see the online videos. Here's what they don't see. They don't see all the years that almost nobody was paying any level of attention to me. Not that I'm some big viral guy at this point, but I'm telling you, there was times that, you know, the only Instagram likes I got, they all carried my last name kind of people. For years, I recorded this podcast and I recorded episodes because I believed that somebody maybe needed to hear the content. Not because thousands of people were listening. You know, there would be times that I would release an episode knowing there's not going to be a flood of comments come in about this show. There's not going to be a bunch of messages coming into the email I'm not going to get, wow, great message, wow, great. I just knew that wasn't going to happen. That's not where I was. But I wanted to keep showing up anyway. Why? Because I wasn't trying to build for applause. I was trying to build to make a difference. And that's a lesson that I've had to learn, and I continue to learn. Why? Because nobody really wants to fail, and nobody wants to feel like a loser. Because here's what I know about applause. It's very immediate. It's very immediate. And listen, I like a good dopamine hit just like any of you. But here's what I've also learned on this journey that I've been on. Impact is not immediate. Impact is usually delayed. It's usually delayed quite a bit in some cases. You know, I think back to all of my years in my corporate job. Some of the most meaningful leadership moments, they were never celebrated. You know, leader, you know what I'm talking about. You know that moment where you were instrumental in helping somebody believe in themselves? That moment where you coached somebody through failure? Those moments where you were protecting somebody's dignity during a very hard conversation that you had to have with them versus pulling them through the mud? You know, guiding some people through serious personal issues that was impacting their work when maybe the culture was saying, leave all your problems at the door, we got a job to do here. But you decided as a leader to show up and guide them through that serious issue that was going on and trying to help them create a level of balance in their life. Maybe you helped somebody earn a promotion after several years of them trying and failing, and they finally get the promotion. You know, leader, if you've been in the game a while, you can agree with me and say there's no award for those moments. There's no email memo. There's no big announcement. There's no standing ovation that you're going to get for those. I call those leadership moments that are in the shadows. But looking back, I can tell you this. Those moments mattered far more than many of the awards that are hanging on my wall. I can promise you that. And I think so often, and maybe we've gotten to this place, that we've confused recognition with significance. Are we confusing recognition with significance? Because I'm here to tell you, those two things are not synonymous. And I think we've started measuring success by visibility. And I think that this is a slippery slope for us. And look, we all know social media is not helping the cause much at all. We see the highlight reel. We see the big announcement of the next new thing. We see the celebration and all the fanfare. We're seeing the promotion announcement on LinkedIn. We're seeing all the followers, the likes, the comments. But leadership has never been about being seen. Can I remind us today? Can I challenge us today? It's never been about being seen. Leadership has always been and always will be about seeing others. If your motivation depends on recognition, your consistency will disappear the moment the recognition disappears. I hope that sentence right there frees somebody from some toxic thinking. You know, one of the reasons that I wrote Firm Feedback in a Fragile World wasn't because I wanted to become an author. I genuinely believed that leaders needed this book. You know what else I learned about writing a book? It's a very lonely process. You know, there was nobody, and this is going to be shocking to you. When I was editing chapter 12 and fine-tuning it, nobody was there clapping. Not one person. Maybe one, maybe Abigail. If you're listening, Abigail, I appreciate your clapping. No, but I wasn't on social media saying, "Hey, everybody, great news! We just finished up editing chapter 12. We got the right pieces and the right stories and all this stuff." And the world went nuts. Oh my gosh, Hancher's done editing chapter 12. This is going to be great. Nobody applauds while you're rewriting the same paragraph for the fifth time, and you have writer's cramp and all this other stuff. You're blocked out. Your mind's not working right. Nobody celebrates the weekends that you spend writing while everybody else is relaxing. You don't know whether anyone is even going to read the book. But my purpose was very clear. And so what do? Well, there's only one thing to do. Keep writing. I got to keep writing. Why? Because my purpose demands it. Think about the farmer. You've probably heard the farmer analogy. A farmer plants, they wait, and nothing happens. Can you imagine the farmer plants the seed? And there's this basically field of dirt with nothing to show for it. They get done planting the seed, and on their way back into the house, the whole family and community standing there clapping for the farmer. Oh my gosh, what a display you put on today, putting seeds in the ground. Wow, I've never in my life seen somebody put seed in the ground like you, Farmer Bill. What an amazing feat today. No, there's no applause. Why? Because there's no harvest. Why? Because there's no visible growth. Nobody is clapping during the seed planting, are they? No. But day after day, guess what? That farmer keeps showing up and keeps tending to the field and keeps plowing that dirt up a little bit and keeps watering that crop a little bit and keeps making sure that the weeds aren't taking over the land. Why? Because the farmer understands something very profound. Just because you can't see growth, it doesn't mean that something's not happening. And I came to remind somebody today that leadership works the exact same way, my friends. You may not see the roots, but the roots, those are the very things that determine the harvest. So I have a few things I want you to consider when nobody's clapping for you, because there's going to be a whole lot of seasons like that. Where y'all at? I need a round of applause for your boy, right? Listen, we know this is going to happen. When nobody's clapping, Here's a couple of questions that I always run into my human filter here. The first question is this: am I still serving people? Because leadership, it's not about me. It's about people. The second question I ask is this: would I still do this if nobody ever thanked me again? And let me tell you what about this second question. Man, it's going to expose some stuff. It's gonna expose some stuff. Would I still do this if nobody ever thanked me again? And then the third one: who might benefit from this years from now because I stayed faithful to what I'm doing today? Who might benefit years from now because I stayed faithful to what I'm doing today? Leadership, it's planting trees that you will never sit under to enjoy the shade. I love the African proverb. Man, isn't it profound, and isn't it true? You might be planting a tree right now that you may not ever get to see that thing grow to its fullest, and you may never sit under the tree that the leaves bear the shade. That might be true about leadership. The people you never know about. You may not even, it may be a ripple effect into a generation from us walking the earth right now. And one of the greatest gifts that I've received over the years, I will tell you, man, and it just humbles me as a leader, is somebody months later from an event, or years later in some cases, I'll get a message from somebody, or a comment, or a social media DM, and they'll say something like, "Jeff, you probably don't remember this, but something you said, it literally changed the way that I lead now." Wow. Those are incredible moments, aren't they? But here's the reality. For every person that tells you something like that, there are dozens of people that are never going to say a word. Not because you didn't impact them. Why? Well, life moves on. Life has a way of moving on. So don't assume that silence means that your leadership is not effective. Sometimes the greatest impacts that you're ever going to make as a leader, they remain invisible. Invisible. And that's really not the heart of a high impact leader anyway. So this week, I want to challenge you. Stop seeking applause. Start looking for opportunities to serve. Look for opportunities to serve, not expecting anything in return. Write that note to the person you've been meaning to write a handwritten note to. Have the conversation with the person that you need to. Coach that employee. Stay after work a couple of hours and get that employee through that performance improvement plan. Stay a couple hours and get that employee the training and development maybe that they need to get that promotion. Man, that's a life well spent. Invest in someone who can never repay you. Because leadership, it was never designed to collect applause. We are not applause collectors. That's not part of our job description. Leadership was designed to multiply influence. I'll leave you with this as we close. The people we admire most in history, they weren't remembered because they chased after recognition and fanfare. They're remembered because they remained faithful to their convictions. Man, there were seasons when nobody noticed, nobody celebrated, nobody understood. But these people that go down in history as legacy leaders, they kept showing up, they kept serving, they kept believing, and eventually their quiet consistency became someone else's inspiration. We've all been inspired by those kind of people. So if you're in a season where nobody's clapping, keep moving forward. Keep loving people. Keep leading well. Keep doing the next right thing. Why? Because applause is going to fade away, just like the sun fades away every single day. Applauding is going to cease. The clapping is going to cease. But here's something that will never cease. Your character, the impact of your leadership character. That is something that has tremendous return on investment time. Recognition is very temporary and very fleeting. Impact, that can last for generations. And someday, someone may be standing where they are because you stayed standing when no one was cheering you on. Thank you all for joining today. Hey, if this episode encouraged you in any way, send it to a leader who might need the reminder, hey, the work you're doing, it matters, even if nobody's given you even a little golf clap. And remember, the greatest leaders, they're not remembered because they looked for applause. They're remembered because they remained faithful long after the applause stopped. Until next time, keep leading with purpose. Keep serving with humility. Keep building a leadership legacy that doesn't depend on who's watching and who's clapping, and keep turning that pressure into potential.
The Champion Forum Podcast with Jeff Hancher. Lead, inspire, win.